teaching studio and where I work when I work, if I get time to work.
It's part of your business, which is hot art.
Yeah.
You're quite
Hot
famous
art
on the garden route for your fireplaces, but that's not all you do.
No, in fact, I'm more an individual. I make pots by hand, the traditional feminine ancient way, before the men put water on the wheel and made it go faster and wetter and quicker and slicker, and at the same time the fires got hotter. So I do it in the old traditional feminine way of hand building, and that's what I teach as well, and it's very satisfying and meditative. The classes are more about an organic fellowship. People, women mostly, get together and have a chance just to relax, talk to each other, and incidentally the creativity comes through, and got their hands into this earth, this clay, which has got a positive electromagnetic charge. So on a healing level, it's all about actually healing, changing your consciousness and a lifestyle, getting a lifestyle that is true. The garden route is synonymous with everything that's alternative and out there and go ahead and back to the earth, and especially with permaculture stuff happening, and so everything is very holistic, and you can't separate pottery from the people, from the crafts, from the farming, from everything else anybody does. So on a holistic level, it's all a fellowship, and we all do what we do best. I've been exposed to pottery since I was a little girl, and I was very lazy at school. I got talent from my very talented parents, who I'm eternally indebted to for taking me on beautiful holidays in the bush. So you realize to be happy, less is more. And so they kind of helped me have dreams, I think. And one day you find yourself sitting in your dream. So try and get off the grid. No commuting to work, no boss, no real timetable, bit of a routine. The classes keep me a routine, and otherwise I just try and be a human being, not so much a human doing. There's a lot to be said for that.
Let's talk for a moment about your fireplaces. You're most famous for that. Where did they come from, and how did you start?
Well, we arrived in this area, Sedgefield, Rechtervlei actually, in 1992. We just needed to get off the grid in Cape Town. We came to visit friends. We saw this property. We quickly bought it before we sold our house. We went back to Houtway, quickly sold our house and moved in, knowing that something would happen. So it was taking a while for my ex-husband to find something, an open-ended business, as he called it. I started teaching pottery here, and I have been making pots for exhibitions and so on, but it's not a living. You can't keep a family going on that. So friends of ours introduced us to someone in town who had a Mexican chimenea that had been brought by her son from Mexico years ago, and it had cracked, and she asked me if I would make her another one, simple as that. So of course I had a look at it, and it was a beautiful pot, and I came home and I kind of copied it in my mind. It came out a completely different shape, because I make big fat shapes, and this was a tall bottle, one with a neck for the flute. So I made a pot, and for 2.5 years we tried to use the clay on the farm. I thought, as the universe would have it, maybe we're living right on the special clay that we need for the special fireproof quality. However, it wasn't to be, and we had to go consult with Prof. Olaf Heckroot from Cape Town University to help us formulate a fireproof body, which actually was already in the books and in the system, but we hadn't quite found it yet. However, we tested, we had to go from a red clay to something that was thermally shockproof. So it's basically porcelain. The recipes are secret, but it's not only the temperature that you fire to, it's not only the recipe that you use, but it's the program that you follow at the same time. If all those three are right, it's okay. If one of them goes wrong, the pot will crack. This is why we actually give a guarantee on our pots for 2 years. We give you 2 years to try and crack the thing, and then we replace it if it does.
How hardy are they against physical
well, they are ceramic, and people can be very, very rough. Yeah. So we do know that people can be rough, because usually first-time users at lodges and B&Bs and so on, it gets a chance to be used for the first time too many times, and they do actually abuse it inadvertently.
Yeah.
But they're pretty sturdy. We'd had a kind of franchise affair in New Zealand years and years ago, and they'd had to pass tests because they have volcanoes there. And they were to drop a 5 centimetre metal ball onto the fireplace from 60 centimetres, about 5 times, and the pot sustained it passed the test. However, it will chip, and it is ceramic, and one ought to treat it with care because it's something that's like a work of art, hopefully. Here's a mould being made from a pot that was originally made by me by hand, not on the wheel, and it's my baby. Art connects us to who we really are, which is, when you kind of analyse it, it doesn't seem very much. Now, I'm going to go down into deep philosophical discussion if we're not careful, but art's an absolutely, you can make an art of anything. You can make an art of walking into a room. Everything ought to be turned into an art. If we really were to be true to the magnificence of this creation, which seemingly comes out of chaos, then art is, it takes us closer to the source of what we really all want to know, is that who and how and what and where and why, and accepting all that. How do we then cope once we all aware of how deep and mysterious? And art is, I think a true work of art will reflect movement somehow. It's a freshness, it's a fleeting moment, it's nothing static. It doesn't have movement. And even if it takes ages to make, there will be a line that you can see that will transmit a feeling of movement and aliveness. And yeah, one can go on many tangents in a lot of ways, but I think a good work of art implies movement. So for me, if I'm decorating on the pots, I do a very quick, fresh, and the faster it goes, the more alive and spontaneous it is. It's about freshness and spontaneity. For me, art is a state of not thinking so that the channels can express themselves through tools that have been practiced, exercised.
Lesley-Ann, if we wanted to visit you online, where would we find you?
You'd find me at www.hotart.co.za.